Stage 1 of the 6-day Tour Down Under, now in its 12th year, sponsored by Santos. Last year's winner, Alan Davies, signing in Clare, ready for 141 kilometres to Tanunda.
Greg Henderson, the winner of the Cancer Council Helpline Classic just a couple of days ago, and the great George Hincapie, the champion of the United States. All
the stars were here, including the new world champion from Australia, Cadel Evans. A massive crowd, former winner here, Michael Rogers, signing the lens as well.
Well, Michael Rogers is looking to ride well. Robbie McEwen trying to find the form that made him one of the best sprinters in the world. And, of course, everybody wanting to know just exactly how Lance Armstrong is going to handle the Santos Tour Down Under this year.
So the Mayor of Clare sending them on the way from the Clare Valley to the Barossa Valley, the ride today. The riders finishing in Tanunda. 132 riders setting off. Glorious conditions, not too hot and not too much wind either. 2 kilometres neutralised before the race would start on the outskirts of town.
Fairly flat to begin with, but a very nasty climb towards the end at Mengler's Hill. Everybody wondering whether or not that climb there was going to split the race to pieces.
Once out into the open countryside, scorched by the sun of the South Australian summer. Early attack after 10 kilometres coming from Tim Rowe, a South Australian flying the flag.
Well, high speeds in the main field and joviality along the route, because everybody was enjoying the passage of the Tour Down Under through their county.
Tim Rowe is soon to have company on the attack here as Martin Kohler in front and Beal Kadri crossed the gap. Then there were 3 leaders and building a big time gap over the pack.
Building a maximum time advantage of 9.5 minutes over the front end of the main field, and when the gap started to get to that amount, the main field started to get just a fraction concerned, because there were many sprinters who wanted to have a day, showing why they're known as the gladiators of the route.
But the field themselves are shaken by an early crash soon after the start. Love you, Lance Armstrong. Cadel Evans, one of the fallers. He'd broken a shoe, but other than that, he was okay. The riders happy to allow the 3 leaders to run, and by the time they got down to Riverton for the sprint after 45 kilometres, they were leading by 9 minutes and 45 seconds. A small bonus time in the Jayco sprint going to Martin Kohler.
3 seconds time bonus in the bag, but finally the main field started to get themselves organised at the front end, and that was really under the impetus of the sprinters teams, because they wanted to make sure that they could pull it back together. And when they saw the time gap at a massive 9 minutes and 45 seconds, they really started to panic.
There wasn't any real surprise about this, because the big bunch were allowing these 3 riders to run and probably targeting Mengler's Hill as the place to bring them back. By the time they got to Kapunda at 74 kilometres, the Jayco sprint again the same order. Martin Kohler over the line first, ahead of Kadri and Rowe. The gap was down to just 6 minutes and 4 seconds now.
Main field really starting to chase in earnest and stretching themselves out into an extremely long line. A crash going through the feeding zone. One of the riders from Case d'Epargne going down very hard and almost taking out the world champion, Cadel Evans, who's not having a lot of luck today.
I must say he was very lucky to avoid being seriously injured there, but just the pride was hurt as we got onto Mengler's Hill. The peloton were now less than 2 minutes behind, and Tim Rowe was heading for gold. Heading to the top of Mengler's Hill, early point in the Skoda King of the Mountains competition for him. At least he would have a leader's jersey on the second stage. Kadri would go over in second place and Martin Kohler would go over in third. But the main pack were closing in rapidly now.
Well, Tim Rowe knows just exactly what forum to show off his name, because this young rider later on in the season will be riding in the Lance Armstrong development squad in the United States of America, while his 2 companions were very quickly brought back into the fold.
Just one rider out front. Tim Rowe, the South Australian, trying to hold them off. He was still trying to go for gold. 27 kilometres to run away from the mountain down into Tanunda. The field itself had reduced in size from 132 to just 90 riders as they're lining up for the sprint finish. It was HTC Columbia who were taking control of the chain at the front. As they came up towards the line, though, HTC had been washed away except for one rider on the left of our picture as we look. Team Sky were heading down, led by CJ Sutton, trying to lead out Greg Henderson for the win, but nobody allowed for the speed of André Greipel. He was simply too quick, crossing the line ahead of Gert Steegmans.
We were, again, the lucky workers. We started first to chase them down, and we won the stage. And I mean, I think we deserve the victory.
Happy with the way the team brought you to the line today?
Of course. I mean, we started 7 Ks to go, and the lead old man Matthew Goss had problems with the derailleur, so I had Bernard Eisel in front of me, and it worked pretty good.
So Greipel pulls on the first Ochre Leaders jersey. This was his 6th stage win historically in the Santos Tour Down Under. He's now the man to beat as the race heads on for 5 more days of racing.